Hello, everyone. This is Robin Short, Associate Director of Training with Worley. Good morning. We have training for you today for hail damage assessment. So we're going to take a look at hail damage, what it is not, go through some various samples on these things, and then take a look at a file that pretty much looks at hail for you. So let's take a look at this, okay? Thanks. So we have our training set up here for us here today, and let me pull this presentation up. So this is for hail damage facts and identification, what it is not, and we'll look at what hailstones, how they form. They form in these supercells that have a tremendous amount of energy to them. So we have an updraft of warm air going into the atmosphere, and you can see it. At 50,000 feet, it is 0 degrees. At 8,000 feet, it's 32 degrees. These larger hailstones form in this vicinity here as the smaller stones go up to the higher atmosphere. So when they fall, the rate of their speed is incredible. So a 1-inch hailstone would be about 50 miles an hour, or a little bit less than 1 foot per pound of energy. But you can see at a 2 inch diameter hail falls at about 72 miles an hour with a force of 22 pounds per square foot. So a lot of energy falling there. Here's another graph to show you that 2-inch hail coming in at about 22 square foot per pound, 1 inch less. A 3-inch would have almost 120 square foot per pound energy. So it's a massive amount. So it's like a velocity of a bullet. Now when we look at the shingles and what would damage a shingle, a 3-tab organic shingle, 3/4 inch to 1 inch would actually damage that. A 3-tab fiberglass, 1 inch to 1 1/4 inch could damage that. 30-year dimensional shingle, 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 inch can damage that. As you can see, 2-inch can damage modified bit, 2.5 to 3 EPDM. So it gives you an idea of what size stone would damage those shingles. It also talks about directional hail. So we want to know where that hail came from, what direction it was, and windward side would damage more of the building versus the leeward side, where you're going to get ricochet and glancing blows from the hail. Flat roofs hail will impact a flat roof at a greater velocity than a steeper roof would at that case. So to define hail damage to an asphalt shingle is defined as an identifiable mark of distress caused by hail that has measurably and significantly reduced the integrity and or the functionality of the overall shingle, where the shingle was sound prior to the hail impact. Hail damage is sometimes found in the form of a mat fracture, a deflection or a bruise, or a significant granular loss exposing the single asphalt layer. So we're looking for a mat fracture, a deflection, or a bruise, significant amount of granular loss. Things to think about when you're inspecting for hail. 10 things to kind of wrap your mind around. Hailstorms have predominant direction, so it's important to know what direction that storm came in from. The hail size varies up to the largest stone. Hailfall strikes the entire property, not just a section of it or the walkable surfaces of a roof. Hail damage most accessible components easily, so it strikes every surface. Hail does not scratch or gouge factory applied metal paint coatings. Hailfall is not afraid of steep slopes or roof edges. So if you see a lot of hail in the middle of the roof, but there's nothing on the steep roofs or the roof edges, it's a sign that perhaps something is not right here. Hail falls in a random global pattern, and hail falls in a random local pattern. Hail does not crush granulars. It's very important. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Hail does not gouge asphalt, so that's also an important note. So hailstone is not perfectly round. There's irregular shapes because it is forming in the atmosphere when it falls. When hail impacts a shingle, we're looking for a bruise or a fracture. The hail will embed the granular at the lower part, may blow off the granular on the sides of it. It may even fracture the mat, but there's no crushing of the granular. Here's some examples of hail. So we see that the granulars were embedded in the mat, and it blew out the sides of the impression, leaving exposure to the mat fiberglass. Here's another one where it embedded the granular, causing the depression or the bruise, and it blows out the granular in and around it. You can see the impact here where it's pushed in or bruised. You see that the granulars are not crushed. Some of the granulars are blown out at the sides. There's an impression or depression of the mat. Yep. 3-inch, 4-inch softball size hail would kind of go right through the decking sometimes, right through the decking into the attic, and I've even seen it go through the ceilings. That's pretty obvious right there. We see a lot of hail on the ridges. Ridge caps are soft, where the bruise will be more noticeable on the ridge caps. This is a good sign of a hail impression. You can see the bruise. You can see that the granulars are pushed into the mat. This is an organic shingle. Really doesn't take hail well. As we've seen, this can be, even 3/4 inch hail can damage this. We can see that it is organic as, the mat surface itself has deteriorated. This is a dimensional 30-year. We can see the impacts of the bruises here. Heavy granular loss to this roof. Another shot of this roof, you can see that this has been hit very hard. The siding is damaged, chipped, gouged. Here's another ridge cap. You can see that this is the bruise here. This is probably a scuff or even maybe a bird dropping. It can be disguised as hail sometimes. 30-year shingles, we can see the impact here. So this is an overview of the test square. Closer up view, you can see the impact here with the granulars pushed into the mat. You can see they're not perfectly round sometimes because the hailstone is not perfectly round, but we can see the impression here, the bruise, the fracture of the mat. Another fracture of the mat here. A good bruise here, impression. Another overview of this showing the hailstone hit here. Close up, you can see the impact here. Another impact here. Very close up. I like this photo. This is the ones we like to see to really get down close on those hailstones. So you can see the bruise. You can see in the middle here where the granulars were pushed into the mat. Here's a piece on the ridge cap here. A good shot here on that. You can see the impression pushed in. The granulars here blown out on the sides. Another good shot here. This is probably a directional hail that gouged, fractured the mat. Organic shingle really blows off those granulars here. This is the weep line. Another shot on the ridge. You can see a dent on the vent here. That's going to give you a good size, good indication of what size hail this is. This is probably close to a 1 inch, 1.5 inch. Here's a bruise here. Another bruise, and these are good overviews, but they're not close enough to really show me the impression of it. So I would want another closer shot of this. More like this, where you can see the bruise here. The granulars are still intact, but they're embedded in the mat. If you felt that with your finger, you would feel the impression there. Sometimes the bruising is a little bit difficult to see, especially on the darker granular roofs, but there's the good bruise right there. That one's very obvious. When we get to the gutters and the collateral damage, we definitely want a shot of this, showing the size of the gutter. And then gutters can be tricky to photograph, but we're looking for the dents on the underside of the gutters or on the inside. So you can see the dents, and sometimes you really have to be careful on your photos to get it backlit from the sun. Good dent right here. Always watch those wasps, you never know, right? Here's some dents here. You can see they're not heavy, but this is enough to buy that gutter. On the edges here, you can see a small dent right here. Again, this is a tough shot because there's a backlit there. On the downspouts, you can see dents here on the edges. A good chalk line through that would pull that dent right out. Another way to photograph that is kind of getting the camera up, going up so you can see the dents on the sides. Here's some chalk showing the dents here. Inside the gutter, you can see dents inside the gutter. Granular loss there. It does not depict that the roof is damaged with granular, but it does give you an indication that something's going on with this roof. Here's another gutter shot here. These are not bad photographs here. Good dent there on the edge. Plastic gutters don't take big hail at all, so they'll either chip it out or blow right through it. We can see the gutter screens on the sides here, so we can see the hailstones went right through that soft aluminum. I'm putting the codes up here for you too, so just in case you need a code for that. Gutter helmets can really take it's a very soft metal, so you can't really see that very well, but it's right in here. It's put the impact on it. That has compromised that gutter helmet. On the top side, you can see dents here. More dents here in the gutter helmet. We get to shutters, and shutters are like a wood shake. It's a hit and a split many times on a wood shutter. You can see the impacts going here, 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 another split here. Plastic shutters here will just break out the shutters. You can see this pretty good size hail here, also on the window. We get overhead door wraps, window wraps, flashings damaged here. Also get the AC vents damaged here. These soft aluminums. Plastic will just chip out. Garage door panels, you will get dents on the panels here. We always want to see if there's more than 2 panels damaged. If so, you're probably replacing the door. If not, we would just replace the panel. Here's a good shot of a door just blasted by hail. It would be a good thing to get inside of the garage to see if this is an insulated door or if it's a reinforced garage door. You have window, plastic vinyl windows would be chipped, broken, or cracked. You can see the siding behind it. This house got really blasted. Window glass broken. You can see maybe a crack in the glass here. Obviously, broken glass here. If we have glass on broken glass, check the room. Possibly we're going to replace that carpet, if carpet in there, because we can't clean carpet from glass, so that's going to have to be replaced as well. Window screens will have a hole in them, typically going right through, not a tear, but a hole. Obviously, skylights will be broken, sashes will be broken. I know this is a window well cover. Yeah, who knew what the code was for that? These plastics will break very easily. We get into the aluminum or steel awnings. They'll break, they'll push through. This is obviously big hail breaking that. And this might have been hit by an impact, but nonetheless, there are a lot of hail hits in this aluminum here. Underside is a good way to look at that. You get a lot of dents in that. Siding, the side of an awning here. You can see a few dents in here. We get into the awning covers, the standing seam. See a good dent here. Underneath of the light panels, dents all throughout. Here's another light load awning, dents here. Good way to highlight that is to get the light shining across it so you can see those dents popping out. This one was obliterated, of course, but you can see a lot of dents going through there. We get these standing seam metal roofs. We get the ridges dented here. We've chalked this to show the dents in this. The copper panel roofs are really, really soft, so you're going to, even a half-inch hail could damage this copper standing seam. Always look for the external lights. We can get damage to the top, the glasses. Security lights damaged here. More security lights here. You can see that the lens was broken out here. AC units are very susceptible because these fins are very light aluminum. You can see the dents in here. Always look for the dents in the AC fins at the top, not just at the bottom. If you just see them at the bottom, that could be from a weed whacker or something of that nature. Here's some more good size hail damage here. More dents in this sides, even half-inch would damage that. More dents here. Directionally, you can see it came in from this direction, not so much this direction. They can be combed with these AC tools. It looks like a comb, a brush if you will, but these will different sizes for the different size fins. So they just put that in there and comb them out. I've done a lot of that myself. Here's another type of a comb for combing the AC fins. Here's a fin that has been, half of it's been combed and half of it not. So even when you see something like this, it can be combed out. We get deck railing top pieces, so now we have chips and gouges in this deck piece, so that would be replaced. We have paint that has been chipped off here, here, here. The vinyl decking on good size hail, it will go right through it. You can see here it just knocked a hole right in the vinyl deck planks. Fences, is it damaged or not? We're looking for splinters, we're looking for chips in the wood, not just a spatter on the roof. So this is, you can see this is a gouge, this is a chip. This is more spatter here, as it didn't really gouge or chip the fence, so this would not really be considered damaged by hail. We let that weather back in. This one's gnarled up, of course, and you can see the chips and the gouge and the splintering. That's going to be replaced. Vinyl fences can just be looks like shotgun hit this one, but it completely broke out some of the fence panels here. Don't forget the mailboxes, even though this doesn't look like it got hit by a baseball bat. Mailboxes or other structures, of course. And there's your code. Yeah, hard to find those codes sometimes. This is a directional hail for sure, and it just cleaned this vinyl siding completely off this house, broke the windows. You can see this is directional, as this side of the home is not really damaged that much. Here's more directional. You say, well, what about the pop machine? This is a very hard plastic for security reasons, so that wasn't damaged, but certainly the house was damaged. Here's some more vinyl siding, aluminum gutter, corner pieces, all damaged, just hit. This is what you typically see in a vinyl siding. It'll just chip off the corner pieces of these vinyl panels. That's a very common look on hail damage to vinyl siding here. Just chips off, nicks off that edge. Here's a couple of other pieces here. Always recommend trying to get into the center piece of that, the splice piece, to see if there's any fanfare behind it or any type of moisture guard. Here's a good shot here of a piece. The photo itself is not that good, but still you can still see the damage here. They're hard to see sometimes up high. You can see that this attic vent also was damaged, but there's a chip here. Now this doesn't mean that this elevation has to be replaced. We can just replace this panel. A couple more shots here. Another shot. Sometimes in the Dutch lap we just get a break, and so it didn't actually put a hole in it, but it cracked it, so that would be considered damage. So when we look at an elevation that has a directional hit, you might see something like this. So there's a lot of things going on here, actually 9 different materials that have been damaged, plus the board up of the window. But the window damaged, the shutters, the board up, vinyl siding, the electrical outlet, garage doors, electrical lights. Probably is going to be some fascia damaged here as well. This will show you something to look for. So when you see a hole in the siding, if you see that this is weathered behind there, that is probably an indication of sun bleach to the insulation board, which means that this is either not related to hail or it's very old prior to the loss. If this was fresh, this would be, you wouldn't see any sun fade to that. Here's metal siding. How do we know it's metal or aluminum? That's why we carry a magnet with us to see if it sticks to it or not. Here's a good dent in that metal. Another dent here. You can see it just hit that corner piece. You can see dents in this metal as well. So this came in and hit and just dented and put these corner pieces dents in here. Sometimes hail won't damage the aluminum or metal, but it will leave spatter causing an oxidation dent versus dents. So this is not actually dented, but this is the hail has scraped off the oxidation of the metal or aluminum siding. A good way to get the shot is to throw your flashlight on there, get a highlight of the flashlight. Sometimes I've used a garden hose to wet the siding. It really shows up when it's wet, or take a light. We have window wraps that are damaged on the bottom sides here, so we're looking for all of those. Corner wraps, corner posts are damaged here. Here's another corner post damaged here, a wrap here. If you take your chalk and just rub over it sideways, you can see how that dent just pops right out. So now we're looking at what may not be hail, blemishes created in an attempt to mimic hail damage. So here's some things that are not hail. So we can see that paint is chipped off. Hail doesn't really chip paint like this. So this is probably something other than hail impact. Maybe intentional, but you can see it's not even, it's irregular in shape. And of course the good old ball peen hammer to the shingles, and see how this crushes the granulars. Hail does not crush granulars, and when it's crushed, it'll leave a powdery look to it. Here's another ball peen hammer strike that has crushed the granulars. It's perfectly round. There's no granulars blown off, but it's just an impact. So this is an indication that this is a ball peen hammer strike. Or a ball peen will just go right through it, causing cracks. And again, no loss of granular. Everything is crushed, nothing blown off. Here's another strike on a wood fence. You can see that this is just an impact. Hail would not impact it like that. Another sign of a ball peen hammer. You can see it's perfectly round, crushed granular. That is not indicative of a hail strike. Lichen is also mistaken sometimes for hail damage. So lichen grows on a roof, and when it comes off, it'll pull everything off with it. So even though it might have initially look like a bruise, it's actually lichen that's come off, and you can see the perfect edges of the granular here. No impact, rather just an impression where the lichen has deteriorated the roof surface. So, a couple questions to ask yourself. Does the damage look random? If so, that's a good indicator. If not, that's an indicator that that may not be hail damage. Are the damages located in a high traffic area only? Meaning, is it a footfall? Was it easy access? Did they try to damage it in an area that they could walk versus an area they couldn't walk? Are the damages consistent with damages created during the installation of a roof? We'll look at some of that in a moment. Granulars smashed into the mat by mechanical means. So you can see these are smashed in, crushed. So that's not indicative of a hail strike. Blisters are also mistaken for hail damage at some point. So you can see blisters are caused by vapor inside the mat that heats up and then causes a blister on the mat. More blistering here. Not hail, but blisters. Blisters also pop off the granulars, leaving sometimes been there for a while, and you can see that the underside of the mat is grayed out or been sun bleached. We have marring, where you can see that the granulars were pushed up into an area. This is not this is more of a V shape, so it's not a round shape. More marring here. You can see that this is an irregular shape, not indicative of a more of a rounder shape of a hailstone, and the granulars are pushed up. Here's one we would maybe call a toe marring, where somebody's walked on it and dug their toe in. You can see a line here. That's not indicative of a hail strike. Here's a better one. Maybe that's a heel scuff right here, or a toe scuff where it's pushed all the granulars up, probably from a really hot roof. Another marring here. Sometimes when the roofer puts these shingles on, his toes are digging in on a hot roof. So when we take a look at hail, we're seeing all kinds of different types of things. Let me show you a file that might be helpful to look at. So we have this file that we feel that is a pretty good example. Here's the roof. Here's the front shot. Address shot. We have the shingle gauge. We're looking for 2 layers or 1 layer. Looking for the drip edge. We always want to get the pitch of the roof, overviews of the roof, and the overviews are showing, the area. This adjuster labels his roof this way: right slope B, back slope A. He notes his roof's this way. That's okay. Showing some collateral things that could be looked at. Back roof, metal roof, no damage, back slope. Showing some tree areas here. Showing the roof here. This adjuster uses these sticks to show his test square. He marks at F equals 8, shows that it's a good shot. That gives us an idea of what's in this test square, where the test square is at. I like these shots. They're very close. Gives a good indicator of the hail strike here, where we see the granulars pushed into the mat, blown out at the corners. He marks these, of course, showing that the hail impact is pushing these granulars into the mat. There's a bruise here, another bruise here. This one might be questionable, but there's an indicating that it's on both of these mats. That's not bad. Here's another test square that he's ran, and he gets close up on these hail shots. These are pretty close. This is pretty good. I like it that he didn't put the hail, or the chalk is right around it, not real big, not through it, but you can see the impression here of the bruise. Another good bruise there. Decent shot there. Pretty good shot there. This might also be an impact here. Another test square showing pretty good size hail here. Decent there on the side there. Nice shot right there. Another test square. Here's a good shot here showing right in the center of the map. This chalk is a little close on the bruise, but not bad. Right on the corner here. Good shot there. It's a fractured mat there for sure. Another fractured mat. Then he looks at some of the collateral, looks at the chimney cap. Chalks it, showing the dents in that chimney cover. Showing the vents, chalks the vents so we can see the dents in the vents. Nice close up, pointing that out. Uses his arrows to show that. Got a turbine vent, chalks it, shows the dents, good collateral damage on the pipe boot. This is the split boot on the mask. Showing some flashing, so he wants to make sure he can buy that, so he shows it. Shows the satellite dishes, another boot there. Then he walks the elevation saying there's no damage. Shows the screens here, so there's the overview. Here's the close-up, hole right in the screen. That's what we're looking for. Nice shot of the hole in the screen here, solar screens. Walks the property. Tells me there's no storm damage found on the rear elevation. Might want to have got a good shot of that. A lot of wood rot on that shed. And he finishes out walking the fence, showing no damage to the fence. So in other words, you know, we want to take a full look at the hail on the property. We want to get our test squares. We want to know what is hail, what is not hail. Hail is indicative of an impact. It's indicative of granulars pushed into the mat and a fractured mat. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to look for in hail identification today, and we appreciate your time. Hope this helps. Have a good and safe trip out there. Be careful now.